Welcome to episode 183 of the Blue Recluse. My name is Martin Larsen, and you're listening to the podcast about everything Blizzard. It's Sunday, and is the date correct? Is it March the 25th? I think it is.
It sure is.
How are you doing, Tom?
It definitely is. It's March 25th, Marty, and I could give you 25 reasons why I'm happy to be here on the Blue Recluse tonight, but I'm not going to, because it's the start of the show and this is the intro, and I'm not the only person on this show, as I've been informed in recent weeks.
But I know that one of the reasons why you enjoy doing the show is because Michael is here. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, especially after that compliment, and I appreciate that, Tom. Okay? I'm doing well. Let's get the show started. I'm ready to go.
I'm going to give you time to talk this week, because apparently there were complaints in the pipeline that I took too much time on speaking and not giving any sort of value in content.
We did get a bunch of emails that said, pretty much in short, subject line, Tom, shut up. I don't know how many people got that going, but it was trending on Twitter.
All right, with that out of the way, I think we can start the show, right?
Here I come.
I sense something elusive. Stay a while and listen. Well met. You are not prepared. This better be good. Existence is mysterious.
Loud and clear. Hello there.
Greetings, traveler, and welcome to the Blue Recluse.
And for those of you who are watching the stream, we had a brand new intro video, as well as just
that was cool, wasn't it? Getting to see all
cool.
those Blizzard characters from cinematics over the years, and that's one thing Blizzard do pretty amazingly, and I know we talk about it so much on this, but the cinematics and how we just want a full length feature movie in that style, and we would just be happy.
Oh yes.
It wouldn't matter, even if it was about StarCraft, we would love it. We would love it.
What do you mean, even if it was about StarCraft? That's like a great genre to have an animated thing about. It's science fiction, humans versus bugs versus high elite aliens. Come on now. Starship Troopers come to life.
Starship Troopers?
Yes, Starship Troopers.
Amazing movie. That's
Yeah.
Love it.
Marty, I know you're about to get us started into our bar snacks, but I feel like I need to take just a small opportunity here to address.
Should I cue the music?
I think you should cue the music. I think you should cue the music, because there's another. I'll wait for you to start the music. There we go. So there's another Blizzard podcast out there called. I always forget the name. The Blizzard.
The Instance?
Raincoat. The Umbrella. That's it. The Blizzard Umbrella, and they recently got a soundboard installed in their show, so they can play little sound effects, and it's really good. But I was just thinking to myself, if you want to be a real proper Blizzard podcast, where's your sounder of Ben Brode?
Oh.
Hey there, don't
Exactly. I mean, you can't be a real Blizzard podcast until you have a sounder of Ben Brode. So I'm just putting it out there.
Don't be scared.
Just putting it out there that if you want to be top dogs in this podcasting game, you need a sounder of Ben Brode.
Hey there, don't be scared.
And that's all I'll say about the matter.
Boop.
That's it. I'm done.
They in their defense, they did have Dr. Boom.
They did have Dr. Boom, so I think that's so 3 years ago.
Not even in standard anymore.
So we have a little war with Blizzard Umbrella going on, a bit
little?
of trash talking every week, and I mean they really raised the bar with the insults, and I was pretty.
Okay, well, let me insult them back.
Okay.
I did not even listen to the episode this week.
Ooh. Jeez.
And I'm glad you didn't, Marty, because the things I think his name is said about you and Bacon, I don't want to go there. And I feel like we've taken too much of our show talking about them again. So I feel like we should get into some Hearthstone news. Maybe I can redeem myself this week.
Yeah, that's why I moved, because
I've removed the Hearthstone news, Tom.
I
You blew it last week.
You had your
one
chance.
chance. You had your chance. You blew it. No, I actually moved things around so you could redeem
Okay.
yourself. So
That's
I was
okay.
like, let's start out with some Hearthstone news. And if you blow it again, then at least it's out of the way. I mean, obviously you won't. So take it away, Tom, because something free is about to happen in Hearthstone. Right?
Something incredible is about to happen. So as you know, we're getting ready to switch into the new year, the year of the Raven, and with that comes celebratory events, giveaways, all the usual stuff which you expect with the launch of an expansion in Hearthstone, freebies. So what's actually happening this time, from tomorrow evening, when you get your quest, your new quest, every time you complete a daily quest, you're gonna get a card pack. A card pack, yes, just any card pack. It could be from the standard set. It could be. Wow. Now I'd say I'm feeling pressure now, so I'm not gonna blow this. But it could be a Kobolds and Catacombs card pack. It could be a classic card pack, or it could be something from the new expansion, the Witchwood. So you're gonna have a bit of RNG at play with your rewards. But every day you complete a quest, not just every day you complete a quest, but every quest you complete, you get a card pack. So that's why it's being suggested that you should go into Tuesday with 3 quests active in your log, so you will maximize your card wielding profit.
That's easy for me to do.
Yeah, if you haven't played Hearthstone for a while, this is for you guys as well.
Marty's quests have been there since the release of Ungoro. So has those ones. Play a quest card.
He still hasn't unlocked Mayav Shadow song. That's pretty much the big deal with Hearthstone this week. We're getting a card reveal as well, a live stream.
Yeah, we're getting some card reveals on actually today.
Tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, but today, because the show won't be released until tomorrow.
Oh, but if you're watching live right now, Marty, on
That's
Twitch,
true.
twitch.tv/the Blue Recluse, right now, there is a live stream tomorrow, Monday, the 26th.
Let's just say the date instead. That's way easier.
Okay, let's say, okay. So
on March the 26th.
Yeah, with
at 11 a.m.
Frodan and Legendary Ferret are going to be announcing some more cards. And people were getting very confused because Hearthstone announced that Legendary Ferret and Frodan were doing this stream, and then people got confused with the word Legendary.
Oh,
and
he's back. He's back.
Oh, I think he's back. I think he's
Plug my
back.
power in because my so can someone take over here? Michael, what's your favorite thing about Hearthstone? Go.
Cards, lots of them. I'm excited for the getting so many packs that's coming up for doing the daily quests, because I've been playing Hearthstone a lot and I want to get more cards. I'm hoping that it's more standard cards rather than wild cards. I'll be a bit disappointed if I play a whole bunch of times and complete all my dailies and I'm just getting Nax Ramus card packs. I think that was I spent a lot of money during that time, so I have a good amount of those cards. I don't need them. I need stuff to help me win now.
Well covered, Michael. Well covered.
Yes.
I just want to pull away from the fact that I didn't plug my laptop in there, and notice that there is a person in the chat called McIrish Gaming, who I think is that guy Ryan from the Blizzard Raincoat podcast.
He's the guy who likes bacon. I think.
Yeah, and potatoes. So, hello, Ryan. It's good to see you.
Just make sure no sudden movements. His vision is based off movement. Okay.
Please don't rewind the show and listen to what we said at the start, because I'm not gonna like it.
So yeah, what's that Hearthstone? Sorry, I got all.
That was it.
confused.
You know what? I figured last week I had about half an hour to burn the world, and we've got that out the way. I haven't blown it too much, and
Oh, hold on. I have something about the Hearthstone.
oh no!
Now he wakes up.
Yes, now I woke up. It clicked. Okay, it clicked. Did any of you do the Tavern Brawl?
Oh,
That's supposed to
God.
be like the StarCraft anniversary one.
Michael. You know what? I was just like, I'm not even gonna mention it because I'm almost a bit embarrassed to that this StarCraft brawl.
It's the worst ever. For anybody that doesn't know, it's
I
like
tried it.
it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, but it doesn't feel StarCraft themed at all. It feels like they just changed some words around that was like, hey, here's a swarm card, here's a tech card, and then I don't even remember what the other one was. But when I went in there and I was doing it, I was live on stream. I was like, I think today we're going to be doing the StarCraft themed Tavern Brawl. Super excited, expecting to see, you know, a Stukov card or something, and Infested Terran thrown in there.
Jimmy Rayner as a hero, be like,
Even
hey,
even as like a
here.
one-off thing. And no, it was just random portals.
It was basically like Unstable Portal Brawl, except
Yeah.
they had given, like Michael says, 3 different themes to the portals that you were gonna get, and it was no new cards. There was no mention of StarCraft at all, and I mean, some might say it's still the best StarCraft game ever.
And those would be wrong. Those would be wrong.
Oh, that was
So,
it was a one and
guess-
done for me. It was a one and done because. Yeah, it feels like a missed opportunity. Feels like a real.
It definitely was, I
So,
feel.
I guess the whole salute for loot thing in World of Warcraft isn't so bad now.
I mean, maybe, but the good thing about that brawl was it was so bad, but you got 3 card packs for beating it. So it was like, yeah, brawl was crap, but I got an amazing.
I'll tell you what, I felt like I earned those 3 card backs by going through that brawl.
Just by showing up.
Just by doing it, I felt like I earned it. I'm upset about that.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
wait, you
I
had to
mean,
win. You had to win 3, right, to get the
Just
card
one.
back. Oh,
No, just one. Oh my god, if I had to win 3, I would have taken Hearthstone back to the store and gotten a refund. Oh wait,
I mean, I
can't
think
do
I
that.
understand. I mean, I think I understand that how
No.
much they would have to design and create just for one tavern brawl that maybe won't be seen again. And as much as I would love to see it, I get why that it's just a bit of a loosely thrown together brawl. But it would have been nice just to have maybe one little nod to StarCraft, just like, I don't know, Tychus popping his head in going, hey, blah, blah, or just anything.
Even a board. The board could have been themed.
That takes time to design. I mean, design a board just for one.
I forgot that
days.
Blizzard is an indie developer and they don't have the staff. My bad.
I was happy with the reward. I took the 3 card packs, but yeah, it's not that memorable. And when you think about what they did for Diablo, actually, where they did have more of a specific theme.
I mean, you say that this Tavern Brawl would only be used once in total, but I mean, even with the Diablo one, that's a yearly thing that comes back every year. So they could have done the same, made a pretty cool brawl, and bringing it back every year.
I've only seen the Diablo one once. It never came back during the anniversary.
No, didn't it?
No,
I don't know. I don't play Diablo.
or Hearthstone.
Or StarCraft. Or Heroes of the Storm. Or Overwatch.
I play Overwatch. And I play Heroes of the Storm.
Only when it's Mario Kart Brawl in Heroes of the Storm. But yeah, slightly disappointed because I think when we talked about it a few weeks ago, we were getting very hyped about a StarCraft Brawl in Hearthstone, and unfortunately,
Blizzard got us all hyped for nothing.
Yeah, I know. It could have been so good. But oh well.
Hello.
Bit of an Oiltron. Just to lighten the mood.
Anyway, I do play Heroes of the Storm. Just want to bring that out there. Play that game. And
Well-
I know that something like a StarCraft themed character is about to hit the Nexus.
That's right. It's almost as if Blizzard planned this to happen around the 20th anniversary. But Fenix, a Protoss hero from the StarCraft universe, is coming into the Nexus. He's warping in. He should be available this week, if I'm correct. So celebrate StarCraft's 20th anniversary during the week of March 27th, which is this week, with some Fenix play. He is going to be in a Dragoon suit. For those who don't know, the Dragoon is the 4-legged mechanical unit from StarCraft 1 or StarCraft Brood War. And he has a few good abilities. He's a ranged assassin that specializes in damage over time. So pretty much all those units that usually you want to kill, but they just stay right out of your range, and they're kind of like just backtracking, running away from you. Fenix has a bunch of attacks that he can do to keep reining them in and keep attacking them as they retreat. So it kind of makes it a bit more of a gamble for them to go a little bit more behind the lines because they're going to be chased down. He has some pretty cool abilities to do so. He has this one heroic where he kind of charges up this giant laser that has no max range. It just goes till the end of the map, and it will
The end of time.
till the end of time. Okay, it's Protoss technology. Okay, so he's able to like get this beam charged up, and then he does an attack that deals damage to all units that it comes in contact with, but it does not damage structures. So don't think that you can just hang back out by your nexus and just boom. So you can't do that, but he does have where he can damage a whole bunch of units at the same time with that beam. It's not exactly super wide. Truthfully, by looking at it, I don't know how useful it will be because it seems easily dodgeable. So we'll have to see how that actually plays out. He has another one.
I bet we'll see a lot of those videos, those fun thing that happened in Heroes of the Storm videos where they're just picking off like enemies from one side of the map to the other by accident or lucky.
Oh yeah, somebody accidentally clicks the button and it just starts loading up, and you're like, oh my god, I put it all the way in the corner, and then someone's just like hanging out over there trying to get something from the fountain, and then boom, blows them up. The second.
Is this the start of their? Sorry for interrupting. Is this the start of their kind of slowing down on releasing heroes?
They've already started that. Like, it's been about, I think, a little bit over a month or so since the last hero. So this is kind of
a month before though. So that's
yes,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is the first hero part of that new rotation. And speaking of that, there are rumblings once again that our good friend might be coming to the Nexus once again. The rumor mill is stirring, and Deckard Cain is rumored to be on the way. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but we've brought this up before.
We just got our hopes up, Michael.
I told you don't get too excited, okay?
I'm already excited.
We've discussed this before. Okay.
If Deckard Cain comes out, I will not only purchase him, but I will only play him for the rest of the year. No, for the rest of my life. No, it's a bit extreme.
That's a bit extreme.
For the rest of the year, I will only play Deckard Cain in Heroes.
I mean,
Cain, so this guy.
The place of old sounders.
You are listening to the Blue Recluse podcast. Home slice. So, stay a while and listen. Oh yeah.
when did you put that on the board?
That is so 2000 and what year?
14, I think.
Ryan says it sounds more like Bane from Batman.
Well, fun fact, it was actually Deckard Cain who played Bane in Batman. So.
Oh.
It all makes sense now.
Tom Hardy was just the body. Deckard Cain was the
Body
voice.
double. Because we all know Deckard Cain is a little bit old, so.
I remember the darkness. Diablo was there.
Batman versus Diablo. The new saga of the Justice League. Can I bring up something about this update that's coming with the new hero?
Yeah,
What
go
do you
ahead.
think this is a show where we talk about stuff.
I don't know. Am I allowed to talk?
You want to bring up the bear, don't you?
No, I don't actually. This is gonna sound ridiculous, and it's actually not a joke for the first time ever. I want to bring up the portraits that that's coming in with this because, Doc, hear me out. Have you heard
Sorry.
Have you heard of Carbot animations?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting a whole load of portraits in StarCraft.
Oh,
Or in
really?
Heroes of the Storm, and they
That's
look
amazing.
awesome.
They are-
Carbot animations on YouTube make little cartoons, animations
Hey.
about Blizzard games,
Carbots?
Warcraft ones, and
Oh.
Heroes of the Storm themed, and they're just funny little short animations, like I've just said about 4 times. But they're getting these portraits in the game, and usually here we make fun of portraits. Like, oh, they're adding portraits into the game. But this is really cool. This is actually really awesome. And if you check out the link we put in our show notes, you'll be able to see these as well. And they're just so cute. They're so awesome.
I agree.
This is to me what portraits should be.
The only thing that I like more than that is the Zergling mount. Did you see that? The Zergling mount? Well, how could you not like a Zergling mount? You could ride a Zergling into battle.
I would not like to put my body near a Zergling because
You don't put your body, you put Jimmy's on there. And then you have
I'm not
Jimmy
putting my
ride
Jimmy.
the Zergling in the
I'm not putting
battle.
my Jimmy. I'm not putting my Jimmy anywhere near the Zergling.
Where's your sense of
Especially,
adventure?
like, yeah. I know the Zerglings just all running around together, rubbing each other, and just. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to mount one of those things. I would not want to do that.
This has devolved.
Yeah. Anyway, another StarCraft hero for Heroes of the Storm. I'm looking forward to that. I just like when they put new heroes in. It's always fun with new toys, basically. Anyway,
when was the last time you
sorry.
bought a hero? When was that? What was the last hero you
It's-
bought with like real
with money.
with real gems or real?
Oh well, I bought. It's not that. It was last time I played, which was a few weeks ago. I actually bought something with gems, but it's a long time since I've bought something with real life money because I haven't been playing the game so much lately. But every time I do get in there, I'm having such a blast playing it. Last time we were playing together. I don't know if we were streaming it or if we were just playing. I can't remember. But I jumped back into Sagara and I was like, oh, this is a really fun hero to play. And I remember being decent at it. And it took me like half a match to get back into her. And it's just fun. I do enjoy the game when I finally play it. But it's just one of those games I find that's more fun when you play it together with friends. And I just feel like lately the three of us have had a hard time finding time to actually play games together. So
Yeah, goddamn time
because
zones.
life, time zones and life, I guess.
Yeah, it's because America decided to be in a different time zone instead
Whoa,
of just.
whoa. This is not Bash America time, okay? We're supposed to bring the love. And anyway, I bought the last hero. Okay? Maev. Alright, I brought the last hero and I will be buying Fenix as well. Come Tuesday, so.
There we go. At least somebody on the Blue Recluse is supporting that little game with real transactions.
Oh, that game. Sorry, yeah, because I was about to say I feel like I contribute to Blizzard's employees with a lot of money, with all the.
He buys gold in World of Warcraft.
Gold and stuff like that.
If this podcast was, or if this conversation was happening 4 years ago when you said that, Michael, that would have been an illegal thing to do. Now we live in the day and age where you can buy gold legally in World of Warcraft.
It's a wonderful time to be alive. I think they passed the same thing in Colorado over here not too long ago. It's now legal to buy gold.
Oh, do you call it gold?
Of course.
We're gonna smoke this gold.
All right. Speaking of World of Warcraft, now that we are at it, let's jump into a little bit of Battle of Azeroth talk. We will not spoil any story-related things, so don't worry about that. But we will be.
But they all die at the end.
Yeah, they do. Everybody dies at the end. It's just a matter of, you get old, you die. That just happens. Nobody can get around that. But if you get hurt in World of Warcraft, normally you would be able to just, bandage yourself up with first aid and be healed. But,
This isn't 2004. Nobody does that
I
anymore.
don't trust the priest. I don't trust the priest. I like to apply my own bandages and put some ointment on and some plasters and just like, oh, I don't want any of that priest healing mojo.
Don't pull Kill Jaden yet. I'm applying bandages.
I'm having my tetanus.
So yeah, what do I want to say? I want to say the professions are changing a little bit.
Something about first aid, is it going to be? Is it?
First aid is going away as it is, but the recipes, which is in first aid is still going to be there. It's just going to change up a little bit. All bandages will be like tailoring recipes now, and all the potions and antidotes you can make is now going to be alchemists can make that instead. So
This is a dark day.
Secondary
dark day.
profession first aid is going away. So let's start there. Do you think this will have an impact on the game? Except, will the forum blow up about this?
Mark this date in your diary, people. This was the day World of Warcraft died. Because first aid. I mean, I have fond memories of playing on the Horde. Not many fond memories of playing on the Horde, but one particular one was in Arathi Highlands, and once you got your first aid to I think around 200, you went over there, and there was all these orcs lying in an encampment, and they were all bleeding out and dying, and you got this quest, and you had to give triage to certain orcs who were different severities of illnesses. This was real. This was like intense, like theme hospital, going over bandaging orcs and getting it right, because you could treat someone who didn't need urgent treatment, and obviously they had longer to live, but if you avoided someone who was about to die, then you would fail the quest, and it was quite, I would say it was one of the hardest quests in the game.
It was pretty hard, actually. Yeah.
It was something you were just like, oh shit, this is pretty intense, and it was pretty rewarding. And I wouldn't say rewarding, but it felt rewarding on the inside for knowing that you helped people to stay alive. But I think apart from that, who really does use first aid anymore? Except back in the old days when people were doing PvP out in the real world and warriors were bandaging up like mid-combat. But
yeah, I don't really feel like I've been using it on any characters for quite a while, so I'm not really too sad to see it go away. I don't think it will have that much of an impact, to be honest. But I do know that some people have been saying that, but when I'm doing old content and I need to heal up as a warrior, for instance, I just have one thing to say to you, warrior. Well, level up your cooking instead.
Ooh.
Damn.
Learn to cook.
Damn.
I mean, it just seems so useless now, doesn't it? Because if you're out of combat, your health just fills up really quickly anyway, is what I found.
Ish. Yeah, well, not on max level, I find. But I mean, if you bring some food, just sit down and eat it.
Sorry, I'm used to playing a paladin, so we don't care about.
No, you just heal yourself.
Heals and bubbles.
Yep.
Heals and bubbles. I will say this, that when I first started the game as a newer player, I saw that it was available, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I was like, oh, I don't have to be a healing class, and I can heal. And then I'm applying bandages in the field, and things are attacking me, and it just interrupts it, and I can't do it anymore. So, and then I actually used it a few times, and I was like, this isn't very helpful. Like, this is not helping me all that much. It's just wasting more time. I do.
How many times?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I was going to kind of transition a bit and say that I think that it's a good idea for them to allow players that are coming into the expansion to not have to worry about going back and getting older materials to craft newer things.
So we're jumping into the changes to professions right now. So yeah, what actually is going on? Because I always found it a little bit weird with the new system as it is right now. Where you can basically just drop, if you're in Legion right now and you have your profession maxed out, you can just drop that profession, pick up a new one, and instantly start crafting the recipes from the current expansion. And that just felt good. I didn't have to level it up to, I don't know, 900 or how high it is right now to be able to start crafting those. But it also felt weird that it felt like it didn't really matter anymore. There was no real choice. But with the new system, how it's going to work now is that when you learn when you learn a new profession, then you will all your profession, all the different expansions will have its own little tab. So when you're in the new expansion, you can just start leveling up all the recipes from that expansion and actually have a progression for that expansion But if you want to learn the other, if you want to learn the professions for warlords, for instance, then you would do that separately in its own tab, sort of like how cooking worked in Pandaria, well, in Mist of Pandaria, where they were separated into categories. It's similar to that, just now it will be into expansions. So what do you guys feel about that? Is that the way to go, you feel like, or is this the worst change Blizzard has ever made to the game?
Definitely the worst. One of the worst. It's got to be up there. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really change the fact that, like you say, Marty, the value of your profession. I mean, you could probably still switch between professions and start on the current recipes, and
but at least I feel like they can make it now, so all the recipes that you really want to get, like the flasks and stuff, you can make them straight away, because they will probably be later on in that progression right now, and I feel like that's what's been missing with the current system.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely something that just being able to go in and pretty much make decent things from the get-go is it's a little weird. And definitely devalued what professions were, and just removing that consequence, because we're veterans here on the Blue Recluse, and we remember once you committed to a profession, that there was like zero way you were gonna give up something that you had put time and effort into. For example, like enchanting or tailoring, anything like that. Anything that wasn't gathering, you were just like, no. I invested my life into becoming this, and it was more consequential of your choice. And that's a lot like now with talent specs, that you can just almost float between whatever you really want to do, or the needs of your people or your guilds or
Your
whatever.
people.
your tribe. So I mean, I've definitely used the fact that I can switch professions on the fly to my advantage as well. And I think separating it and having a progression per expansion is definitely a better change. And I think you do want that sense of progression. And I think the cooking style in Mists did work quite well. It felt like it worked quite well, just because they divided it up a little. It was a little strange that they did it for cooking, but that system's coming back but being utilized this way. So yeah, I think professions came back pretty good in Legion, I have to say, because it did just get to the stage where were people really feeling professions anymore? Some of them not really, but in Legion they kind of gave them quest lines, and I don't know if that was executed as well as possible, because it felt a bit
I think there was some things they could learn from it that they hopefully did learn, because I feel like some of them got overdone a little bit. And I'm thinking especially of alchemy. Alchemy felt like this never-ending story that just kept going and going and going, whereas some of the other professions, you had like a few quests and then that was done with. So I think they need to find the right balance to strike behind that. Alchemy dungeon quest, Sailor Selena says in the quest, and yeah, I agree, that was a little bit annoying. But yeah, I think if they've learned from Legion, then it could be pretty cool in this expansion. In the coming expansion. Yeah.
I was actually one of those ones that I like the quest chains for certain things like that, but I would like to see like an actual impact. If I'm going to create, there's like a blacksmithing one or a mining one where you have to create some laystone boots. I would like to see that have an impact on the world around me. If you're going to send me out on these quests, even for something as small as a profession, I would love for it to have an impact either in the little area that I'm doing it for. Maybe you craft, let's say there's an alchemy quest and you're learning how to create something because of it, but you get it by helping out a village and you create this potion and it changes the image of the village for some reason. I would like to see a lasting effect on these quests that actually change something around me, rather than I'm doing the quest just to gather a recipe. I would like for it to, I'm doing this to help people out, and then I saw the positivity from it, and I'm going to take that with me. And it's kind of more character progression for me. You're not just doing it because it's a check mark. You're doing it because you're learning along the way, and your character is growing due to this little profession.
I have an idea, Michael. What about a certain alchemy quest where there is a group of orcs and they've all succumbed to this illness, and you have to create a potion and treat the orcs depending on the severity of their illness, and then there's a timer going, and if you let them die, if too many die, you fail the quest. And I really think that could be a good idea.
I think
Like
they're
the
working
Lunar
on
quest.
something like that. It's called Classic WoW. Get over it. All right. No.
If Bliss tells me I have to treat ill orcs, just let them die for the Alliance. From Mac Irish Gaming in the chat, and yeah.
We
I-
don't really tolerate that kind of racial slur.
But I agree.
Right?
But I agree. Yeah, I agree too.
I don't.
Alliance.
I don't. I don't agree. Okay, I am a doctor without borders. I am a paladin that heals all. Okay.
By the
feel like
holy
the-
light.
I feel like the chat and this show got a little bit toxic, all of it.
Oh, wow. Our chat would never be toxic, but
Don't worry about that.
Oh, but it,
I
but
just
it,
saw
it, it,
Don't worry about that.
a stream malfunction. Everything's okay. Everything is fine.
But it was a segue into our next subject, which is that some of the largest gaming companies like Riot and Blizzard, and they're also teaming up with the platform where we're streaming right now, Twitch, they have all tried individually trying to do what they could to fighting abuse and harassment on the internet and in the games, and now they're teaming up. They are trying to make the internet world a better place to be.
Good luck with that. No, no.
Oh wow, okay. That's the end of our show, folks.
Yes,
Thank
good
you so
luck
much.
with that. I love this idea of all these giant companies coming together to make a better environment for everybody involved in the gaming scene, not just those that play the games, but those that work on the games, those that go to conventions for support of these things, because toxicity is spreading rather than receding. I feel it's become so big that even these companies that are sometimes at odds with each other in terms of revenue and genres, they're coming together to try and fix a problem that each and every one of them and each and every one of us, whether we're speaking about it, seeing it in game, or even just hearing about it, maybe you don't experience it all that much, but toxicity in games is one of those things that it's gotten so out of hand, and something like this could lead to the end of video games being seen as something positive. Things like this, like seeing those people in the community and hearing about those people on the news, whether it's this person called a SWAT team to another person's house and all this other nonsense that goes on. The wider world has an image of gamers that is simply a bunch of kids or grown adults who act like kids that don't know how to behave themselves and are just, he said this, so I did this type deal. Finally, we have the bigger support from the companies coming together and acknowledging that this is an issue, and they are trying to create a uniform standard for gaming in general, kind of like they came together to make the ESRB when video games were under scrutiny for being too violent with no regulation. Now we're trying to come together to create regulation to help limit the toxicity in games, and I think that this is a great step forward. It's only a step. It's not going to change overnight. You're not going to log into Hero or Overwatch and your team is suddenly going to be all communicative and suddenly want to talk to you about everything, but it's a great first step, and it's something that I personally like to see when big companies come together. For me, it kind of restores hope a bit.
Yeah. Oh, and thank you, Sil, for hosting us. That just popped up right now. Thank you so much. That might help us. Um, but
Oh,
no,
yes.
I just wanted to quickly say as well that yeah, as you said, this is just like the first step. They're just starting out this thing now, but the plan is to actually try to do something about it, and also share their findings with other gaming companies, maybe newer ones who, or maybe ones who don't have all the resources to go into this right now. So it is generally a project to try and make the whole gaming community as a whole a better place to be. And to be honest, I think it is needed in some shape or form, because, I mean, a game like League of Legends, I've heard so much about it. I sort of want to try it out, but what's always kind of like kept me back is that I know, or at least I have heard. I don't actually know it for a fact because I haven't never tried it. I never played it, but I've heard so much about the toxicity in that game. So I'm like, okay, I'll just stay away because I don't like that kind of behavior, and it puts me off, and then I lose interest in the game. And I mean, if that's probably just one rumor for a game out of a lot of other games that I don't know anything about. So, yeah.
I think it's,
I think
it's a big statement as well, I think, isn't it, when you have these large companies coming together to tackle an issue. I mean, that initially sends a message as well to say, we need to do something about this. We need to try and find ways to encourage better behavior and more community spirit. That in a lot of games I've played recently, Rocket League, for example, are pretty awful. It can be, it can get you down. Sometimes just little things can just grind away at you, and it doesn't even have to be like full-blown abuse sometimes, which I know this is probably the main reason that people, these companies are coming together for. And but it can fester, and it can start from just small things as well, and just these companies coming together and saying we're gonna try and deal with this. I think it's good because a lot of people, I mean to say a lot of people generally, but you could maybe speak to somebody that says, oh, Twitch chat, for example. Oh, it's just Twitch chat. You know, that's Twitch chat. That's what Twitch does. And it's like, you know what? No, I don't agree with that. I'm seeing a lot of things on here which I don't agree with. I don't personally have the power to change the world. I try and be the best possible person I can be online, and I try to encourage people coming together to play games and have that escape. But you know, it's really hard when you just have all this wave of toxic and hate, and you're standing there, you're trying to like push against it, but you feel like you're just getting nowhere. And you do need the, you know, the bigger people, the bigger individuals and the bigger companies to step forward and say, we don't want this in our games. We don't want this. And I know Blizzard have tried to do a lot as well, and it might feel like a losing battle. It might, and it probably does, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't stop trying to do something about this no matter what, because we all play games for an escape to connect with people like-minded, and it's something that many of us have grown up with. It's our passion. It's what we love doing, and just getting individuals that are bringing it down the foundations of what we love and what we cherish. You know, I'm never going to stop and say, oh, well, it's just Twitch chat, or it's just the way the internet is. I'll never agree with that. I'll never say that's okay, because it's not. And the more people that we have saying that that's not okay, and we can try and educate people to say that it's not okay to harass people, it's not okay to send death threats to a game developer when a patch is having issues. It's not okay, and it will never be okay.
Not only that, but the fact that the game companies are the ones stepping up helps also prevent other people that may not understand gaming step in and try to fix a problem that they might not inherently understand. It's always better for a community that understands exactly what's going on to solve the problem themselves, rather than an outside entity that doesn't quite do anything related to it. I think that's part of the problem that most of the world has, is that people that don't understand the problems are the ones solving the problems or putting things out there that don't always work well for that environment. So these companies coming together show that we are kind of policing our own. We're coming together as a community, both on the high end and the low end, because there's a lot of things going on at our level that we can do. Tom, for instance, brought up other games like Rocket League, and I've seen posts of him being a positive influence over there. Blue Recluse or not the Blue Recluse, that's us. The Blizzard Umbrella, we give them a lot of crap, but they did their podcast with that episode all about toxicity. So it's little things like this that will eventually add up. And even though it feels minuscule, even you helping just one person, that's one less person that's being that way online. And if that person remembers the things that you did for them, maybe they'll return the favor and they'll do it for somebody else. And hopefully it will create this chain reaction that will continue to grow. Yes.
And yeah, I've been even seeing like I think it was Spivey from 1600 Dust at some point, and I can't remember exactly what happened right now, but he put forward a series of screenshots where he actually tried to be the bigger man and to say, hey, come on, let's not be like this. And I feel like we should have more stories like that, and we should retweet more stories like that, because that's how we should be, not just as gamers and gaming community, but just as people in the real world as well.
Yeah, and still saying in the chat, the more mainstream the internet will become, and therefore online gaming, more and more regulations like cyberbullying will be taken action against. And it's something that slowly the wheels are starting to turn, where it's an online gaming thing, but I mean, we can't just ignore the fact that internet has a big problem with tendencies of this as well, with toxic behavior just being a general thing, and it's part of being anonymous to some degree that being able to do this fuels it. And I think also there needs to be more punishment for people who do go on the internet and spew their hate and act like, if you acted like this in the street, like you would be arrested, or you'd be taken away by the police probably for doing this in the street.
It's harassment.
Like, yeah, exactly. And until we start having like the rules of the general life trying to be pulled back online just a little bit more, I know it's going to be hard, because like where do you draw the line, sort of thing. But I think there has to be more severe punishment for people who feel like they can get away with this, and especially in severe cases where if you're sending like a death threat to somebody, like that should never be okay, and like that should be punished, because that's just not. I can't even see a level where you would say, oh well, he was just joking. Like, no, I mean that's not funny. That's not even cool, because I see I feel sorry for. I'd love to talk to a game developer, especially maybe some of Blizzard that just seem to get this wave, and I don't know how they deal with it, because they put a brave face on, but I don't know if they go home at night and that would eat away slowly. I mean, we're all human, and just to see negative comments about something. I mean, you get the positive and you get the negative.
I actually have an example of all this, and it's not even from gaming, but it's the same. It works the same way. That for a while I was growing my beard, and at some point I had a way longer beard than I had right now, and I posted pictures of it on Facebook, because I was like, oh, I'm doing this. Well, of just posting random pictures, Facebook, how it works. And all of a sudden there was this like a person that it's not like a close friend or something, that was someone I knew through someone, and the person just posted that, oh my god, just shave your beard off, dude, right now. And just that message hit me somehow, that I actually kept thinking about it for 2 days afterwards, and were actually seriously considering doing something about it I mean, that was just like a small sentence on Facebook from someone that sort of knew, but I didn't really know them. And I mean, that's just how it works, that all of a sudden you start to feel like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. And I mean, that's not how it should be, right?
No.
So just imagine having that constantly happening inside games. I jumped back into Heroes of the Storm not that many weeks ago, and I tried out a character that I'm not that good at, and all of a sudden someone said to me, hey, are you a retard or something? And I was like, no, I'm not. And now I don't really feel like I want to play this game anymore.
Yeah.
So Selena in the chat said that she does. Recently, she read that Blizzard is planning on having an avoid this player feature in Overwatch. Does anyone feel like that's the right kind of like a step in the right direction?
It could potentially be, but it depends on how it works, because I know something similar was in the game where people started avoiding a player that was just really, really good at the game. So because he was so good, he just got, he couldn't.
I think I remember that story. I think I remember
Yeah.
that. But I mean, it's a great idea in theory, in terms of like a bunch of people that might put that on there, kind of flags the player so Blizzard can see it. Currently, I'm not sure how it works in Overwatch, but I know in Heroes of the Storm there's a really easy way to report players. So if you're experiencing things like that, like there are things in place that would allow you to flag people like that. Usually you can mute a player or block a player so that it will avoid matching you with them currently. So I think the main thing is Blizzard's putting things in place so that it will flag for them, these people. Because if multiple people are flagging them, then Blizzard actually sees it. If it's a one-off, then probably all of us would be banned at some point or another. Because I'll be playing like Muradin or something in Heroes of the Storm, and I'll be a garbage Muradin, and they'll flag me for a horrible play, and then I won't be able to play a game because I just suck at it. Definitely there needs to be standards and regulations.
But one thing that I find quite interesting as well is how much Blizzard is actually doing to all this, because not only are they doing this in game, but they're actively also seeking out people on like YouTube comments, on Reddit and things like that. And if they find people who are also playing their games, then you will actually get banned, because they do not condone on that type of behavior, even though it's not just in a game, in their game. So I sort of find that interesting. I sort of feel that shouldn't be necessary, but I think that's this whole conversation, isn't it? That this conversation we shouldn't have to have this conversation at this day and age, and here we are having it anyway.
And they're not alone. Twitch is doing the same thing. New terms of service for Twitch is that they are going to have the right to look into their behavior on other platforms. And if their behavior is unbecoming of something that Twitch wants to be a part of, then that person can be banned from Twitch as well. So Blizzard is not alone in this. Hey, we're going to be keeping eyes all over the internet as best we can. And if you're going to act a fool over there, we don't want you coming over here acting a fool as well.
Still in the chat, raises a good point about the instance of kind of cyberbullying as well, like even within schools, like kids using like Facebook to bully as well. And that's, although it's not about gaming, I think you can kind of just take these tendencies of people using the internet and using it as a tool to spew hate and abuse. And I think there definitely needs to be perhaps more education of how people conduct themselves online, and bringing it back into schools as well, since technology is such a big thing now. I mean, you cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid social media and everything that comes with that. I mean, you can, but generally,
how likely is it that you're going to?
Yeah, exactly. It's everywhere. So I feel like there does need to be a bit more education surrounding like we're taught to respect others and give our opinions, but there's a certain line that can get crossed, and you go on the internet every day and you see it crossed every day. And I know I spend a lot of days on social media, and I see things, I'm just sitting here like for audio listeners, head in hand, and I just can't believe what I'm reading sometimes. I honestly, I can't believe what I'm reading, and I'm like, are these other people actually real people with these opinions? Because I just can't believe what I see people come out with. Like I would say I'm shocked, but we've got to the point now where nothing really shocks me with people's opinions.
And that's part of the problem.
Exactly.
We're like,
it's like, oh well, that's just
another person being a fool.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because again, like I was saying before, it feels so almost not pointless is not the word I use, but so difficult to make an an impact in the pond. You're throwing like this tiny little pebble that's going into the ocean. It's not really
drop
doing
in the
anything,
ocean.
but I feel like you just get loads of those tiny pebbles. People like us wanting the online community to be a better place to always just promote being the best person you can possibly be, encouraging people in. We want more people to feel like they can come into communities, gaming communities, and feel welcome, to feel passionate about games like we do, and just have that.
Just like I don't know. I just thought of Michael right now, stepping into BlizzCon for the very first time, and we're like, "Whoa, there's actually a big community and like-minded people here." I guess that's sort of where we want to go, right? That's the feeling we want everybody to have. That
Yeah, we
oh,
want
you're one
that.
of us. You're
We
one
want
of
that
us.
feeling in game. Like we want that BlizzCon feel, not just at BlizzCon or not just at PAX or wherever you go. We want that feeling whenever you jump into a game.
Except the con crud that can stay away. We don't want that.
That's part of the experience. Okay.
So that's your take home. That's your take home. Your goodie bag.
Concra. Got that inflatable hammer? Got something with it.
I can't remember if this is a Danish example or if it's a worldwide one, but I just remember reading about some guys. I think they were Danish, who were like sort of like Facebook detectives. Something they started themselves, where they were when they saw someone, especially mainly kids. If kids were not behaving good on Facebook, then they took like screenshots and things like that, and then they actually found their parents and showed them like, this is how your kids are behaving on the internet, which I found quite interesting and funny, and probably something that more people could learn from.
Now, I forgot if this was us or not, but something that might also help if you're looking to kind of do things on your own. I think we were playing Heroes of the Storm and somebody was kind of raging in the chat. And sometimes it's just simply people aren't equipped well enough to explain things. And I brought up to, I think Tom was typing. I was too busy scoring kills for the team, so I couldn't type. But anyway, the guy was raging and Tom was typing, and I was like, hey, maybe put in there, instead of yelling at the person, why not help out by explaining next time? Explain what they're doing wrong so they don't just keep making the same mistakes. And it seemed like once Tom said that, the guy kind of was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're probably right. I think half the time it's just people aren't equipped, or at least it doesn't come into their mind to be like, well, why isn't this person doing well? Let's say you're a pro in World of Warcraft PvP, and I show up in your group. Guess what? I'm going to bring that MMR down, okay? I'm not going to know what I'm doing. So help me by explaining things to me rather than just yelling at me, because I get the way where if you want to like bring me down, guess what? I'm going to start doing some crazy things. Not like feeding, because I get flagged for that, but I may start picking some random talents in Heroes of the Storm and be like, hey, guess what? I got cleansed even though I don't need it. All right, help me help you.
Help me help you.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you mentioned the episode of Blizzard Umbrella with Zupercat from Ask Mr. Robot. I think it was maybe 2 episodes ago, and I can't recommend go and listen to that episode enough, because
enough. Okay. I can't recommend go listening to it because the crap episode.
Don't go there.
It was
we
excellent.
don't like them. They
Excellent.
are okay.
Let me have my I'm trying to be nice to Blizzard Umbrella for once. Let me. So I put my headphones in. I went for a walk out in the countryside and where I live, and they brought up a lot of good points about toxicity in gaming and maybe the science behind that as well. And when you break it down, some things, I'm not saying toxicity makes sense, but understanding why people are toxic is a way we can counter it, by understanding why. And they brought a lot of great points in that episode that I've tried to now adapt into when I'm playing video games, to just try and be more conservative in. I'm not saying I go off the handle with people that be toxic, but I'm trying to maybe ask them questions like, are you having a bad day? What's going on here? And like Michael says, maybe if we try and be more constructive in our instructions, maybe that's I understand why you get frustrated with the team not doing what you want it to do, but we need to communicate that better.
I really liked one point that they brought up as well, and that was that when people who write the guides for something is also sort of part of the problem as well, because that when you write a guide and you say the very best way to do DPS is by choosing this and this and this talent and do this and this and this is actually sort of a problem as well, because that actually validates someone who have read the guide to tell someone who haven't read this guide that they are playing the game wrong. Which obviously nobody's playing the game wrong. You can play the game as you want to play it. Even with my roommate these days, he's playing some World of Warcraft just for fun, and he's like doing some random instances here and there, and people are saying to him that he's playing his Warlock wrong, and he's like, no, I'm not.
I'm having fun.
I'm having fun. I'm playing this right.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to hit the boss with my staff, that's what I'm going to do.
Melee Warlock.
Oh man, what was that video?
But I mean, that is so true, and I'm like, I like guides that they help me, give me an idea of how to play it, but I also know other people who play the same class and they don't follow this guide, and they still do great DPS or whatever they're doing, that they function the role that they have perfectly, because they're doing what feels right to them. And I think that's an aspect that a lot of the time is missing from guides like that. That this is like a suggestion. This is like, if you theory craft and everything is after the numbers, then this should potentially be the best way to do DPS. But obviously, it's like it's subjective, right? It's also up to the player. There's a lot of other conditions that needs to be absolutely right for this to be the way to go.
It's like when you're building a bed from IKEA. Like, some people will take the instructions and they'll follow it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some people will like look at 5 first and go, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like, and then they end up like starting on step 2 and then go back to step 1. You know, we all do things differently, and sometimes we do things that
if you don't follow the IKEA instruction, then you're doing it wrong, Tom. You're doing it wrong.
I have my own instructions.
What that little man's doing.
I have my own instructions. Step 1, ask somebody else to help me. Step 2, ask them if they want a drink and show up when the job is done. Boom! It's put together. Brand new dresser, good to go.
Building IKEA stuff.
Nah, that's Selena can pull the weight there. I'll cook. She can do that.
Have you heard the latest IKEA meta? Because I haven't.
No. There wasn't in the patch notes.
Justin Slot.
I think we're starting to talk about IKEA, so I think it's time for us.
Yeah, that's always a sign, isn't
That's when you know when IKEA comes in.
It's about time to turn off the music, say time to get the hell over to the bar, close it down, and get the hell out of here.
Last orders! Last orders!
So, before we get out of here, I want to say something. I want to recommend something that's not Blizzard, even though this is a Blizzard podcast. If you are a gamer and you like gaming, then I want to suggest something for you. If you also like the 80s, then this is even better. This book, Ready Player One.
I've read that.
If you have not read it, check it out. It's so much fun. I'm halfway through. I got it Friday. I'm halfway through. My challenge is to read it before next Friday when I'm going to watch it, because it's now a movie as well. We are not sponsored by any way of this. We should be, because I like it. It's
we're
amazing.
sponsored by Ready Player 5 because nobody ever plays 5.
Continue, Marty,
Anyway,
please.
I really love it. It is like reading a computer game. It's so much fun, and there's so many. Even though if you didn't grow up in the 80s, some of the references you might not get them, but I don't get all the references myself. But it's still a really, really good read.
I find that hard to believe, but
If Marty doesn't get it, we stand no chance.
But it's still really, really entertaining. And if you like gaming, then obviously it's a must-read. I cannot recommend it enough. I don't know how it ends, so maybe I will next week when I'm done. I might change it and say it's a crap book because
Yeah, they all die. They all.
horrible. But so far it's great. Tom, I know you have finished it, right? You have read
Yes,
it.
and the bit with Snape killing Dumbledore.
Wow, spoilers for those who haven't read it. Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that.
Edit that
because
part
I'm
out.
having so much fun with that book. Anyway, have you read Ready Player One? What do you think? How do you think we will fix toxicity in the gaming community and the internet in general? Let us know. Tom knows where, and he will tell you now.
You can email the show at thebluerecluspodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Face Party at the Blue Recluse. Did you ever go on Face Party? Were you guys on Face Party? No?
Anything that has face in it, I'm pretty much gone now.
Okay. maybe somebody remembers that out there. That was an oldie. Yes, come over to thebluerecluse.eu/discord, where you'll be able to talk to Warcraft legends such as Ragnaros and Lord Jaraxxus, as well as Marty, me, and Michael. We talk about Blizzard games, we talk about non-Blizzard games, and we also talk about other things.
Like
So
spaghetti.
come on over. Spaghetti. We haven't talked about that for a while, but definitely going to do that right now. You can support the show over at patreon.com/the Blue Recluse, and you can find all that information, including our show notes for this episode and more on our website, thebluerecluse.eu. And remember, we are streaming live on Twitch every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central European Time. I'm not sure what time that is in America, Michael.
10 a.m. PST.
Thank you, Michael. And we welcome you to come over, engage in the chat. We've had a lot of chat in going on there today, and so we're really thankful for that. Thanks, Ryan, Selena, and Sil as well for having a bit of a conversation about toxicity in the chat as well. So a really big subject that it's always going to generate a lot of opinions, and I think we could talk about it all day as well, but it's something that needs to be addressed.
And Selena's just says Blue Recluse book club hype, and I could totally see us do a book club episode when the new novel is.
Stick a few logs on the fire and let's get this party started.
Anyway, I think it's time for Freshly to take over. So thank you so much for listening. See you not next week, or maybe I don't know what we're doing. I know that I'm away because it's Easter. So
it's Easter.
We'll let you know. Anyway, Freshly, take it away.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Frass Report. Today is Friday, March 23rd, 2018. I do not know what news has been going on in Azeroth this past week. I am coming to you live through my gnomish communicator. I have been on the go investigating a lead all week. Last Friday, after recording the Frass Report episode 30, I was eating a meal at the Blue Recluse. My friend Tom, proprietor of that fine establishment and sexiest voice on their podcast, came up to me. I just happened to have a microphone recording, as all people who are investigative journalists seem to walk around recording everything.
Frasley, my gnome. I was thinking the other day about how we haven't seen Mr. Smite since before Cataclysm. Can you investigate this, please? I was actually making him a birthday cake for Vanilla Dungeon Appreciation Day. Oh, how I loved how he killed me in Vanilla. And my party would laugh at me. Oh, the shame.
I remembered Mr. Smite. I had fought him when I was a wee lad in Vanilla. I had not realized since the Cataclysm that he was missing. This got me intrigued. A missing person story. Something that hasn't been discussed. This is just as big as the fact people forget that ogres in Vanilla didn't have fully enclosed loincloths. Many gnomes still shudder at the sight, as they had to fight ogres from behind during fights to avoid their attacks. With this, I finished my delicious meal at the Blue Recluse Tavern and set off for a flight to Westfall. Once I arrived in Sentinel Hill, I started looking around for clues. I asked the local innkeeper if she had any clues. She informed me that Mr. Smite would occasionally come to the hill. He would often be drunk and very rude to anyone that came near. He was always trying to evade authorities, but he actually would routinely pay her to have supplies for his crew shipped in from Stormwind. She wasn't one to turn away some coin. She talked about how times have always been tough for Westfall residents. She raged on about how Stormwind has never been overly supportive of the populace. She said many of the residents feel that King Anduin still treats them as second-class citizens, that he doesn't care about them as much as he cares about the citizens of Stormwind and Elwyn Forest. She went into a long political rant, and I got distracted from the conversation. Instead, I started watching a butterfly out the window. It was very colorful with red and gold stripes. What a wonderful butterfly. When she was done rambling hatred at my King Anduin, she alerted me back to attention. I apologized for drifting off. She scolded me for wasting her time. She told me she had not seen Mr. Smite since the Cataclysm. I asked her whether she knew if Mr. Smite had any relatives still alive. She told me that there was actually a relative of Mr. Smite that lived in Westfall, a cousin of Mr. Smite, who lived in a home not too far away from the inn. They were a Taran named Madame Bovid. I thanked her for the information and hoofed it over to their house. I was glad to be away from these very mean verbal attacks against the greatest king we've had since Varian. May the light rest his soul. Once I arrived, I could tell that this individual lived off of very good fortune. Their yard was very lush, full of green grass, gorgeous flowers. They even had a bunch of workers watering the fields and working on the yard. I went up to the door and knocked. After a few minutes, and many locks being unlocked, the door opened to reveal a woman who had to be in her late 60s. She asked me why I was there. I told her that I was here regarding Mr. Smite. She shrieked.
Is he dead? That boy I knew one day he'd get into an utterly ridiculous mess.
No. I actually am trying to figure out what happened to him, man.
Oh, whew. My cows almost gave out into shock. Come on in, dearie.
She welcomed me into her spacious home. It was bigger on the inside. We sat down in 2 leather chairs, which surprised me as they looked like cow leather, but I didn't question it. She told me about how Mr. Smite grew up as her younger cousin. She was about 15 when he was born.
He was such an innocent little kid until he changed into his teen years. Started hanging around with some bad people. He had aspirations all through his childhood to be something more. He felt like there was more to life than just what he knew. As he got older, he left this ideal. He had joined a gang of pirates, and we grew apart.
This was fascinating. Mr. Smite had grown up as a sweet kid, believing in something bigger than himself. Then he joined forces with Van Cleef's gang, a story all too similar to ones I have sadly heard before. I asked Madame Bovid if Mr. Smite had any friends that were not part of the pirates.
No, dearie. Mr. Smite didn't wear depends.
No, I said friends, not depends.
Oh, yeah. My sweet child. He had a goblin friend named Kizgak. Those two were inseparable until Kizgak's family moved to Howling Fjord in Northrend. After this, Mr. Smite would keep in contact with Kizgak through a goblin communication device. It exploded 4 times a week, but Kizgak hadn't shown him how to fix it, even after Kizgak left. And while Mr. Smite was joining the pirate gang, they kept in contact using the device.
I thanked Madame Bovid for her time. I had a lead on someone who kept in contact with Mr. Smite. Our story was moving in a good direction. I dashed over to the Howling Fjord to meet Kizgak. I landed in Valgard in the Howling Fjord. Once there, I went to the inn to inquire about Kizgak and his family. Lo and behold, the bartender turned out to be Kizgak himself. His family had hit hard times. His mother had passed on the boat from Minethal Harbor to the Howling Fjord due to sickness on the long journey. Once here, his father was killed when Recluse attacked the settlement one day. Kizgak was taken under the wing of the former innkeeper. We sat down in the empty inn to discuss what he knew about Mr. Smite.
Yeah, Mr. Smite? Why are we calling him Mr. Smite, by the way?
I don't know. Everyone has just called him that.
His name is Anguston, but his friends called him Angus. Oh, yeah. I see why we're calling him Mr. Smite. Anyway, Mr. Smite was my best friend. We've been through so much together.
After you moved here, did you keep in contact?
Yeah, buddy. We kept in contact. The communication lessened sometimes, for a bit. It was very sporadic. For months, once it felt like a year before he contacted me. And then one day, I get this call from Mr. Smite. He had this energy that he had been missing.
Kizgak pauses at this moment, thinking about the call.
He told me Kizzy. That's the name Mr. Smite called me. I never gave him a nickname. I don't like to do that hullabaloo stuff. But he said, hey, Kizzy, I've done with the pirate life. You know those rumors about lands in between Kalamador and the Eastern Kingdoms? Yeah, I'm going to go sailing. See if I can find a new place to go.
Mr. Smite had a change of heart? This was something I never expected of a dungeon boss. After that, have you heard from him again?
Yeah, years later. He messaged me on the device I made for him. Told me he found a land of pandas. I thought he was crazy. He said, no, these also don't look like a panda from the, World of Warcraft Vanilla Collector's Edition. These are ginormous, some very fat pandas. He told me that he found his true calling. He joined a movement called the Order of the Way of the Orderly Way of the Order of the Way or Orderly Way or something. And he thanked me for being my friend and all the friendship. And he told me he had to forego all communication to achieve his calling. I never heard from Mr. Smite after that.
That must be Pandaria. Thank you for your time, Kizgak.
Anytime, bub.
I went to Pandaria in search of this movement. You wouldn't believe how many movements there are in Pandaria. Finally, one of the bartenders at the Vale of Eternal Blossoms knew exactly where this movement was located. Right before we went live for this broadcast, I just made it to the monastery in Pandaria. We are about to see if Mr. Smite is alive. I am about to enter the monastery that Kizgak mentioned. Okay, I am walking through the front gates right now. I don't see him. Oh, no, I see him. I see Mr. Smite. Okay, I don't want to disturb Mr. Smite because he looks so serene in his duties. But he looks happy. He looks at peace finally. He found his purpose. Well, this just goes to show you, even dungeon bosses can have a change of heart. We finally discovered what happened to Mr. Smite. Now you know the rest of a story no one ever really thought of for an NPC that got removed in a WoW expansion until Tom mentioned it once on an episode of the Blue Recluse, then told me in Facebook Messenger when I asked him for ideas for a script for this show. This has been the Frazzle Report. I am Frazzly Sparkspan. You can find the show at frazzlereport.com. Until next week, be awesome. Oh, I can't wait to get home. I think I'll pick up a cheeseburger.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.